Welcome to Rauta's 85. This time we once again go through 5 different releases, smaller bands or older ones in alphabetical order, quickly recapping what's going on. First we'll start with the Swiss band Aara, which is here with the third album. Why this made it Indie 5 is that, well, it's not exactly a very big band, and also this is her 2021 release. It came a little late to the party, I guess. But they have already 4th album out. Being active since 2018, this band has basically put out album every year since 2019, so 4 albums out. And this started as a duo but quickly changed to a trio, adding a drummer 2019, according to my information anyway. And the style is something we could call melodic black metal, mostly with fast tempo, but there are slower parts as well. Very mystic. This band is always cast in robes, having masks, creating very interesting design or feeling with the music, or at least the band. Unfortunately, the music is more like very filler material when it comes to their melodic black metal. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't hate this kind of music at all, actually I like it, but the thing here is these melodies are more like fillers when we're talking about exactly better bands. Nothing actually here is outstanding, nothing here is exactly superior made. It's just nice melodies, some are darker, some are happier, they are happy melodies, I can give you that. And the production is like, okay, it does its job, it's not phenomenal, it's not, once again, anything like super or anything great. The vocals are very high pitchy, almost like Danny Field kind of a screamy vocal, so as opposed to kind of raspy. And they are not Danny Field like. I mean, they're not that unique, but they're definitely kind of high pitchy, screamy ones. So you kind of have to get your brain adjusted to that kind of stuff in order to like this. Now, throughout this 45 minutes of this album, everything is very easy to listen to, but it's very forgettable. There are no peak points, there are no hit songs, nothing kind of exactly catchy. It's just your basic melodic black metal, very okay done. So a decent release, but not exactly great one. Then we have a band from Brazil. This is Fossilization with a he whose name was long forgotten. Sounds very ominous. It actually has kind of a Lovecraftian vibe. This is the debut EP by this Brazil-based death metal band, and it sounds so American. Now, when I say American, I mean bands like Incantation, Immolation, and the like. So kind of dark, old-fashioned, a little bit hairy. That is not exactly straightforward or anything like super catchy. This is one of those bands that you could say it's quite late to the party, like 30 years or so, but it delivers those blows in the fashion that fits this kind of a genre very nicely. There is nothing groundbreaking, nothing out of ordinary, much like with Aara, but this is listenable in its own niche, and it helps that it's only an EP. Now, when it comes to vocals or production, it does its job. Once again, much like Aara, there is nothing like superior, but then again, who would have that kind of stuff when we're talking about debut EP by a band that nobody knows? So let's leave it at that. But it does its job. If you are a fan of those given bands and style, I mean, why not to check it out? They have a newer release out since that. It's a split one, I don't know how it has changed, but maybe worth giving a look. Then we have interesting release. This is kind of like Aara, but even more mystical in the sense there is nothing at all when it comes to information. As you can see, this is the digipack release. There are no lyrics, there is no booklet, there is no lineup. There is basically nothing. Not even the label is mentioned here. I couldn't even, well, the catalog number is basically the only one saying actually anything. So this is a band called Forhist with a release called Forhist, a debut album by this side project of a band. Now, if I was supposed to make my opinion based only based on this actual release, what I have in here hand, I wouldn't have any kind of information. But according to Metal Archives, this is Windswall, a guy from Bloodhouse Nord, side project based on France and only one member band. Now, I don't know if that is true, so let's just do a little bit of assuming that it is his project and it has been proven in other places. This goes beyond that. But music here is roughly 45 minutes of atmospheric black metal. Kind of similar to Aara in the sense that there's nothing actually catchy, nothing exactly hit kind of stuff. There's nothing really memorable, but it does its job rather fine. The thing here is, these kind of melodies are a little bit better than what actually Aara is able to deliver, and the style is, a little bit more atmospheric than outright melodic. The tempo goes from faster parts to somewhat energetic, kind of a higher mid-tempo. It's not super fast, it's not exactly slow, but just, kind of a typical black metal beat. I mean, when you're looking for faster black metal, there are plenty of those, and this is not challenging them at all in their own game. So this is more leaning on the atmospheric side with lots of melodies, kind of a basic black metal vocals, but even though they are more on the background, and I feel like they're a little bit done with some effects. I mean, it doesn't sound like pure raspy vocals, but kind of an effect put into them, and then having them more on the background and the guitars do the talking. Drums are pretty basic and kind of easy to forget, but that also proves there is no major fault with that. Music-wise, this is very easy to put as in the background music. Now, I wouldn't say it's something that you really focus on, because that would actually reveal that none of those melodies are exactly super cool. There's something that when we're talking top tier black metal bands, you would say these are the mediocre or even less than mediocre riffs by them, the so-called filler parts. But as a whole, I would say Forhist kind of does its job just fine. That is, it's very easy to listen to without annoying and getting bored. But when you focus on details, it's kind of obvious that it doesn't really stand out that well. Definitely more listenable than that, but yeah. 7 out of 10 for me. Now, what's next then? The next album comes from Sweden, and it's called Havamal. There is also another band with the same name, but that is different style and different country. This one is kind of Viking metal, but in the form of melodic death metal, very much like Havamal. This one is The Shadow Chapter, the second album by the band. Now, if Sabaton and Amon Amarth had a kid, that could be very much what is going on with the Havamal's second album. The thing here is, the band's previous album, the debut one, had a little bit of a black metallic feeling to it, in addition being mostly melodic death metal. But this time it seems all the black metal elements are more or less gone, and now which mostly focusing how to copy or imitate Amon Amarth, but just adding a little bit more heavy metal to it. Now, there are a little bit of vibes where this goes kind of epic in a way that Sabaton's heavy metal, almost power metal-like thing goes on. There are synths, there are lots of guitar melodies, and that's how the band lives or wins or dies. Unfortunately, this is nowhere near Amon Amarth's typical quality. Basically, the band is able to grasp the basic idea of what's going on with Amon Amarth. Melodic guitar walls, lots of somewhat growly vocals, the kind of a grooviness, catchiness, somewhat decent production and all, but it also fails doing really good songs, memorability, and, just having what kind of a thing Amon Amarth is going on. It's almost like if Amon Amarth was guy in his prime, strong, and, having chest hair and, having manly thing. This is kind of like teenage version of that. Like, hey, someday I want to be like grandpa or dad. And it's like, yeah, someday, son, someday. Now go play with your toys. Potential, but not there yet. And the last one, not least one, is a band from Norway called Last Lighting with a debut album called Porten. This is also like the Havamal album from 2021, being on the review queue quite some time. I actually met these guys at Inferno, and I had to say, sorry, your album has been waiting for quite some time, but that it is with the review queue. So band is Last Lightning, and Porten is the name of the album here. They're pretty young and sweet looking guys. I mean, they're not exactly old, and seems to be kind of a CDR version of it. At least it looks like that one. Thing here is they're not copying, like identically what's going on with the Norwegian black metal style. They're melodic, and they actually have quite a bit of heavy metal feeling to it. That is, some of these guitar riffs are almost like, hey, let's go for a new wave of British heavy metal. Not exactly Iron Maiden, but I guess you get the idea. So definitely on the easier, lighter end of melodic black metal in so many ways. Not exactly melodic like, bands such as, I guess, Stark Funeral or Murder Gruning, stuff like that. This is not as aggressive nor as dark as that, but this is more like having reminiscence of 1990s Nordic black metal things, but with just a lot of this heavy metal vibe into it. And this actually makes it rather refreshing because it doesn't really sound like all the other bands out there, but it also lacks catchiness and memorability. Production-wise, okay. Vocals, quite okay. There's nothing to bitch about, nothing to praise about. But I mean, there's a lot of things going on. Now, I think the guys made a right choice when they founded the band. They first, kind of let it mature a bit for a few years, that is, releasing EP, single, whatever, instead of going right away for the debut album. And as such, I think this is more mature than what it would have been if it was right away, like, hey, let's create our first 8 songs and make a debut album, let's see how it flies. It's not exactly a very good one, but it definitely has a lot of potential to show for what's going on, and these guys have ideas. So I kind of like it, but it's not polished enough. And by polishing, I don't mean exactly the production value, but more like how the songs could be even more better with structure and melodics and catchy and, in general being like stronger release. But however, Porten is definitely worth giving a shot. It has some fresh ideas, and I think it's actually somewhat likable of an album. Now, all these bands and releases mentioned here have links in the description box, so give them a chance, pick the ones you like and give them a listen, and who knows, maybe you will like some of them, maybe you will like all of them, or in some cases, none of them. Who knows? It's up to you to find out which ones are suitable for your music taste and all. This is Rauta's Indie 5, next Indie 5 hopefully next week, the same time. Take care and see you soon with more videos coming your way.